is Elder Kevin. I'm here to tell you about the good Lord and His Word. Thank you all for coming. This is a really, really big crowd. Super appreciate it. Also, is it more? Okay, more. But I was really excited when I found out that the main character of the Book of Mormon is Elder Kevin, and I'm going to thank my parents later. I'm going to start off with some fiction. This is a section from my children's book that I'm working on, Behind the Bookcase, and here we go. It wasn't long before he had finished his chocolate pancakes and chocolate milk, brushed his teeth, and was waiting outside the house with his mom fixing his collar. Simon could hear the rumble from a block away, like a giant orange bumblebee monster truck hybrid. Even the engine rumble sounded like the children laughing in slow motion. There it was, coming down the block, ever so slowly like a caterpillar from hell. The air pressure hissed as the bus came to a stop, and the double door folded open. The heavy-set woman driving the bus smiled down at him through her aviator glasses and yellowed teeth. Simon could smell the fuel, grime, and green seats from outside. "Morning," the bus driver said. "Have a good day, sweetie," his mom said. Then, everything went into slow motion. He saw his mom close her eyes and look down at him. She grabbed his head. Her lips began to pucker. She hadn't kissed his forehead in public for years. It must have been the discussion in the house that induced a flashback, an image of him as a baby in those suspenders, when it was okay to kiss him, when it was adorable. But now, he was in front of all these kids, staring from the window with drooling anticipation to make fun of him, for the lips to pucker against his cheek and leave a stain, a lip print, and there it was, displayed for the world to see, the dreaded mark of Mama's boy. "I'm sorry, honey. Here, let me wipe it off." The torture, the agony, the thumb raising towards his face and smearing the red paint across his cheek, digging the mutilation into his skin, creating a massive blush across the left side of his face. "That's better. Have a good day, honey." Step, 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 turn. The waves of laughter bounced against his face. A paper ball hit him from the right. He put his head down as he walked down the aisle, the gauntlet of legs kicking out, trying to trip him so that he'd fall on his face, but leaving bruises on his shins instead. There were no open seats. Everyone was sitting unbuckled on the edge, pushing him away from their space. The laughter was an addiction. The mob wanted more, pushing his backpack from behind, nooking his head, wanting him to fall, as he climbed over every leg and pushed through every blockade of arms, formed by friends holding hands between seats. Eventually he did fall. Once the bus jutted forward on its way, he fell on his face, and the kids continued pushing down on him. "Who was that, Simon? Your girlfriend?" "Yeah, was that your girlfriend?" The smell of tar and stickiness of dried up apple juice that one of the kids had spilled last week pressed against his face. Luckily, Simon had put on the elastic band for his glasses so they wouldn't fall off. He forced himself up and found an empty seat by the side emergency door, the most uncomfortable and tightest of places to sit on the bus. How ironic, he thought. "Hey, Suspenderella," Joey Venuti said as he slipped into the seat opposite of Simon. "Yeah, Suspenderella, what's going on?" echoed Nick O'Toole, Joey's accomplice. Simon just looked out the window as best he could, clinging tightly to his backpack, his knees pointing towards the window. He didn't want to look at Joey's chubby face or Nick's big nose. "Hello, to Suspenderella," Joey said, waving his hand in front of Simon's face. "He's not moving," said Nick as he poked Simon in the arm. "What is he, a statue now?" said Joe, leaning his face in. "No. He's blinking," Nick replied. "What's wrong, Suspenderella?" Joey continued. "Are your suspenders on too tight to talk?" He grabbed the back of Simon's suspenders, pulled them back, and then let them thwack against his back. And Simon yelped and turned, glaring at them, wanting to throw a punch. Everyone was laughing, turning in their seats to watch, but Simon remembered what his dad said. "Eventually they'll get bored. Like a wall. Don't listen to them. They're not there." And he turned back, pretending to look out the window. A paper ball hit him in the face. He didn't even flinch. "What's wrong with you, Simon?" Joey asked, now getting annoyed. "Don't you want to say something? Call me one of your nerd words?" Corpulent flashed across Simon's mind for a second. That was the largest kind of fat he could think of that represented Joey. But he stayed quiet and stared out the window. Oh, in that case, hey everyone, let's play Simon Says. The bus grew louder with gurgling anticipation, the mumbles growing like water boiling in a pot, and Joey was grinning from ear to ear. Oh, how do you play, Joey? Asked Nick. Well, all you have to do is do what Simon says. Simon sat still. He didn't like the uneasiness crawling up his spine, making goosebumps on his arms. Simon says, give me a pat on the back. And Joey slapped Simon in the back with his open hand. Everyone nearby began to laugh and joined in punching and slapping Simon's back. Help! Help! Simon screamed, wincing in pain. Hey! Yelled the bus driver. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked forward. Keep it down back there. The bus chuckled like broken crickets, while others began shushing. They all sat with their hands folded, looking forward like innocent children in church. It was only a matter of time before Simon had finished wiping his tears with the back of his sleeve, and the game started up again. Simon says, fix my hair! Hands flew from everywhere, pulling and twisting Simon's hair, as others twisted his ears and pinched his cheeks in the pile. Help! Oh, help! He screamed. What'd I tell you, kid? Shouted the bus driver. Sit down back there and keep quiet. The students swooped back in their seats, still chuckling. Simon pressed his hands against his head, where they had pulled the hardest, laying his forearm over his ears, sobbing, curled up as close to the exit door as possible. That was enough. They didn't want to leave too many marks, in case the teacher asked what happened. Just torture him enough to make him cry and not leave any visible evidence. They had never gone this far before. They never really hit Simon to the point of making him cry, aside from the occasional wet willy. Simon had listened to his dad, but ignoring them had just ignited the fire. Nothing could put it out. They needed a reaction, and they got it. Don't you dare tell anyone about this, Suspenderella, Joey warned. Yeah, don't tell anyone, Suspenderella, echoed Nick. If you do, we'll tell Miss Gallo you called us one of those nerd words, and she knows what they mean, so you'll be in big trouble. Simon didn't listen anymore. He wanted to disappear, to fade away, to run to the front of the bus, kick open the door, and just jump out. But he couldn't do that. He could only imagine him crying the seat, clenching his backpack. Once the bus reached school, Simon waited for everyone to get off, counted to 10, and then got off by himself. Everyone ran to their designated grade spots in the parking lot where you're supposed to wait for the school bell to ring. Simon went inside and walked to his classroom. The door was locked. He sat outside, pulled out his Greek mythology book, and waited for the teacher to arrive before the bell rang. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now on to poetry. I've got a handful of this. This is mostly new stuff, so many of you will be pleased by it. Rib knitting. Bed green moss sheets in the moonlight lamp glow, oh, whisper stars between the shades of mesh, of sweater smoke, fragrance, necking. How grow such tremble, river, ease, and pulse and press. Come here our hearts on brash as breeze, as breath, as shadows rouse pulse, and memoir throb slush, and squint deep inhales on a pillow chest. Nest warm and concave ease, and smooth and lush, and rise and ease and rest. Our feather thrush fingers entwined as children, roaming through woods where we root our veins and names and hush, and stir our souls as sheens of oil, as hue, as a worn guitar pulsing, gentle throng, both ears fizzing as buried locust songs. This is an ekphrastic poem based on a painting inside the museum, art museum here at UL. It's called the Baudelaire Sketches, Water, Cloud, Silence, Night. O children, gift of moon, see such still smudge remnants and outlook, what dirt, what useless, what discard in pale water swarm. I, a luminous prism, and it, living light thought, beam through hazed hillsides wide of soot of snows, a colorless all-color, witness the blackness of the whale, charnel house within, pallid froth blanketing, blank tinge, gorging, absorbing, amidst coal cloud slide smog, silent at night. And you, children, squeeze ledge paint through your fingers, peer deep inside this departure heart, where stellar remnants bleed, time pulses, all matter. This is the broadside that's available. Childhood Credos. Pick it up after if you'd like.
Yeah, Kelly.
Babies begin as grapes and end as raisins, moms used to say. At some point, something will reciprocate from these walls, she would announce, as long as we place our ears against the glass and listen past the calm. One day the wind will wind around our house and softly shiver, she would sing. And we can never give that back, you know? We can't give anything back once anything has begun. One day we will take a placebo, she would whisper, and fog the windows in the sunroom while the white noise from some kamikaze rain lulls us to sleep. We can hold hands that day. We can imagine what it would be like if we let go.
Yeah, bro. We let go.
This is a poem based on an accident that happened in February about a couple blocks from my house, so I felt the need to write about it. It's called Valhalla, February 3rd, 2015. It starts with an epithet by the National Transportation Safety Board Vice Chairman Robert Sumwalt. What we have here is, we have a mosaic. 1. Nobody knows why that gate, that arm, those caution lights at the crossing, those lights, caution, flashing, 39 seconds, those seconds flashing, flashing seconds, flashing, that arm, that gate, lowering, later, seconds later, late, pressed on the back of her car between the track and the other side, but not on the track. She got out and looked at what was holding her back, touched that gate, how calm she was, she, that gate, touching. She did not panic, she did not hurry, how calm she was, even though both gates were down. She looked directly at me, and me, I motioned her to come back. I don't know if she could see me, my headlights on, flashing on, those seconds flashing. Instead, she got back inside, got back inside instead, and pulled forward onto the track. Perhaps she thought she had more time. But what about the horn, no louder than a blender, or someone shouting, then suddenly louder than an ambulance, sounding seconds, sounding more seconds. Perhaps she thought she had more time. He doesn't remember hearing the horn or the bells of that train, though he did see the flashing, those bright whites piercing through the red, the panting, that gate, that arm sounding. A terrible crunching, crunch sounding, and just like that, the car was gone. There was no way she could have known what hit her. Just like that, gone, the car, back sounding. Then an explosion, fireball was sounding, flames, just like that, from the train, from the front, fuel fumed, flaming. Holding his head in his hands, she was there, then she was gone, there, and gone, there, and there, and gone, gone, was in an instant, she, gone, was, gone, sounding. He did everything he could. Perhaps she thought she had more time. 2. We couldn't get the doors open at first, started smelling smoke, pounding the doors, prying our fingers between them. But once we prayed them open, jumped off the side, stood there in the snow, twig ditch, across the cemetery, beyond the winter-scaled pines, dancing red in the fire, St. Andrew's crosses blinking by the parkway, there was then there a lesser explosion. We later learned the third rail electrified, piercing like radiating daggers in the heart of that chamber. Like looking into a coffin, he said, of the burned out train car, one of the worst experiences I've have sounding in elected life. 3. He treasured his time in the quiet car, voracious reader, felt very passionate about the paintings, had a deep, deep love for those paintings. I think there's something Dutch about the way I live, he said. To go home every day from the Upper East Side to the countryside is a really nice contrast. At the essential level, I think what's the most Dutch about it is the constant return to immediate experience sounding. He loved his wife more than anything else. How difficult will it be for her to hear the train roar by? 4. I didn't sleep much last night. I could see people inside reading the paper, looking at their phones. After a few moments, flames from the front. I was standing in the vestibule, felt a big bump, shot forward a bit, and everything went silent. Then a brief clipped statement from the conductor, and everything went silent. A couple of poems from the dissertation I'm working on. They're creative translations of runes. If you don't know what a rune is like an alphabet used back in the day, 400 AD or so, even a little later. And the symbols represent not only an alphabetical letter, but a symbol in themselves. And to do these, I have translated an Old English poem titled The Runic Poem because it's basically a poem for each rune describing what the symbols are, and using that as, say, a puzzled alphabet of words for me to put together to fill in each symbol and make a poem. So here we go. This one is Neckring from Pietrosa, Romania. I have no other, the mouth, the comfort, seastead, wrought by frost, the mouth, the comfort, the whitest grains, wrought by frost, of pain, of woes, the land of my fathers, wrought by frost. I need your extremity, your salvation, the mouth, the comfort, chur, wild ox, I have no other. These next two have multiple translations, so for a certain rune, so if I say or, that represents the opposing translation for it, so, or additional, I should say. On the bronze mount of a shield grip, strike like lightning, like axe, every mouth or brace or comfort, those on mighty horses, those that point their arrows at the sky, every mouth or brace or comfort. This one's titled, Among Grave Goods of a Woman's Burial at Gardlosa, Skane, a brooch with a roughly scratched text, and it's probably incomplete. So I'm going to read the first part and then give you the incomplete part that scholars believe should be the runes that are missing. Seed, ulcer, notorious moor stalker, transformed for the sons of man, or needed, content, or fortified, very dear to every man, or family land, or everything right and proper, or in his own house, or constant, or stagnant, or a day, or a kiss, or a benefit to everyone. And here's the part that is missing. Fair to behold, unclear translation, or growing in water, or giving grievous wounds, or staining with blood every man. Two more poems. This one is titled, The Moment You Lay Your Eyes on That Special Person, Your True Love, Your Heart Skips a Beat, You Breathe Heavy, Your Feet Float Above the Ground, and Your Heart Pounds and Pulses Madly, imagining the intense and epic and truly profound experience of uniting as one body, one whole, one unified being of perfect love. And you realize that there's no one else in the world who gives you the chills. You can only look them directly in the eyes from a fairly far distance, preferably behind a field or tree or person. But when you are close, I mean utterly close, like Eskimo kiss close, and this is all being flashed across your mind, mind you, that is when you know you have met your true love. Of course, she also has to reciprocate the same feelings, but with your disheveled hair, pop culture themed t-shirt, Magnum PI mustache, why wouldn't she be Pied Piper by this epic fate of true love? And here's the subtitle. There's going to be some point in the relationship when she's going to slam the door in your face for not noticing her new haircut or failing to remember her birthday or watching Monday Night Football instead of one of her stereotypical late-night soap opera dramas disguised as an entertaining medical series, reality show, or plainly CSI Miami. And you may do this for many years until she hands you the divorce papers, which you will refuse to sign because who will wash your pants or microwave your mac and cheese? When you're done with this argument out of the millions of others that will undoubtedly lead to your 50th wedding anniversary, which you'll forget as usual, but this time not purposefully because dementia set in, because you're married a little later in your life than your friends, and you'll forget the argument you had in the morning about what color suit she wanted you to wear and what suit you put on before she told you what suit she wanted you to wear, which led to an aggressive argument in the car while you were backing out the driveway, causing you to nip the mailbox again, leading to another argument about your minor age differences, concluding when you enter the restaurant and look at pictures of each other when you were younger, and of all the good times you had, and the trips you took around the world, and the fact that you're so happy to have been married to this woman for so long, no matter how pissed off she may have gotten at you, because you knew she loved a challenge and you loved the chase, and then, when the party concludes, another argument will flare in the car because you didn't remember the name of that woman she introduced you to, whose name she has forgotten in the moment. And apparently you should have remembered because she went out of her way to introduce her to you so that you would remember her name or remind her later, having given you the signal with a twitch of her head and winding of her eyes, that that's what she wanted you to do. And it isn't long before you're both screaming at each other or walking to the front door defending that she was a Susan or a Veronica, though deep down you're pretty sure she was a Molly. And you've now stopped arguing because you're tired from such a long day, but she hasn't given up, even as you walk out from the bathroom having to brush your teeth and taking 2 ibuprofen because the high-pitched tone of her voice is bellowing through the house, now entering your skull, and you press the pillow over your head in the hopes that stuffing the sound will aid in your attempts to fall asleep. And here's the poem. Having searched for many hours and many days, we finally found your wife, sir. My God, why? And this is the last poem. This one's dedicated to Jay. Let's read it next. It's titled In Memoriam. It is, how nice, right? It's a poem written about, I'm from New York, and I was in high school my freshman year when 9/11 occurred, and this is my 9/11 poem of my experience. In Memoriam, 1. Sun spilled through the blinds on that early morning where the classroom walls were baby blue, the seats uncaring, the room lightless, when the speakers imparted what we now wish we better understood. The lunchroom swarming, warming, warning, weeping, sweeping us into cars. Never in my life, his grandfather muddled over and over, rocking in prayerful meditation, knuckles white along the steering wheel. Never in my life, never in my life. Such blackness rising, streaming across the islands, waving within these corroded waters, now reflecting raindrop bodies, sliding down car windows, the devil beating his wife, stomping a couple of ash-filled beer cans into a nation's pyre, lingering as a breath our mouths strained for through filtering shirts and hands. Mom kept calling the office, using the rotary phone in the kitchen. Whoosh, click, click, click. Stopping to listen, hum, still, hum, listen, hum, still, hum, nothing. Whoosh, click, and whoosh, click, 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 and whoosh, click, click, and whoosh, click, 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 an hour, click, click, an hour, click, whoosh, click, 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 day, hum, till, hum, she, stopped. She lit a candle on the dinner table and prayed, wearing away each rosary bead, and we could do nothing but feel what little warmth the candle offered. Our father dead, beneath rubble, decaying into some cobble road. 2. We were eating sandwiches that warm afternoon when there was a knocking, and Mom rushed from the sink and covered her cry with her hands. We gazed upon the ghost of our father panting in the doorway, his face, his suit, bathed gray in ashes. He had carried these firefighters, these passengers, these pilots, these workers, these innocent loved across the city, now holding its knees as a child lost in fog. The highway, its trees quivering in mourning with each gust, spreading them as pollen, even as a stranger saw him walking as a whisper and drove him home. We wanted to hug him. We wanted our heads to poke his side. He held up his hand, said he was okay, asked us to grab the shovel. We hung our heads in silence, having buried his suit, his shirt, his tie, his shoes beneath the white dogwood tree. Thank you very much.